This is another video, as promised, about the electron transport system which helps to generate ATP during photosynthesis. Remember, ATP is used in the second stage of photosynthesis to allow the plant to make organic molecules. The process of photosynthesis is not an ATP generating process. That is obviously aerobic respiration. But ATP is needed for the second stage, so this is where it happens. We're going to concentrate on really this section here, and the slide that you need to be concerned with for this is slide 8 on the PowerPoint, which is shown here. So effectively this is a similar diagram to the one we saw before. It shows the same things. You've got your photosystem 2, photosystem 1, you've got the electron carriers in the red colour here, you've got some photolysis here which you'll hopefully recognise from the other video and from the PowerPoint. So effectively the same thing, but it's shown in a different way. So let me just describe how this system works and how it eventually ends up producing some ATP. Okay, so just note that this here is the stroma on this side. We've got a double membrane here of the thylakoid and this here is the thylakoid space on the inside. So the stroma on the outside, membrane, and then the thylakoid space. Okay, across those is where the photosystems are embedded, located, and also among there are some electron carriers which are going to obviously accept electrons and use a little bit of energy from them as they go. Okay, so there's your photolysis. It is associated with photosystem 2, an enzyme which helps to make this happen. Results in some oxygen being produced, some protons and some electrons. The electrons go through photosystem 2. The light provides the energy for them to become excited and leave the molecule, and are then picked up by electron acceptors. Now these electron acceptors, we're going to simplify here and just show a few weird sort of shapes, but they come in various different forms, different names, plastoquinone and so on and so forth, and their job is to take the electrons to photosystem 1, but on the way use some of the energy from them to transport protons into the thylakoid space. Okay, so this is a really important step here. As the electrons go from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1, some of the energy is used by these electron carriers to pump H+ ions from the stroma to the thylakoid space. Now remember, some protons, some H+ ions, are also being put into the thylakoid space by the photolysis of water. So what you're getting here in this side is a huge amount of protons, effectively about 10,000 fold increase on the stroma. So when this builds up here, you get a massive gradient of protons, much higher on this side and much lower on this side. There is also a bit of an electrochemical gradient because you've got lots of pluses here and not so much on this side. You've also got a big pH gradient because H pluses contribute to lowering the pH and making the place acidic. So you've got a pH of around probably 4 here, which compared to around 8 on this side. All of these things put a lot of pressure on the protons to want to go back across the membrane. But they can't, apart from in one place, and that is that place, that avenue is provided by ATP synthase. This obviously is an enzyme. As the name suggests, it's involved in ATP synthesis. It's got two parts to it. One part which is embedded within the membrane here, and you've got a second section here, the head of the enzyme, which effectively can turn and produce ATP from ADP. Now it brings me to a little mistake here, which is here. This should actually say ADP plus an organic phosphate instead of ATP, because this way you probably get to AQP or something. Anyway, another mistake in the textbooks that tends to happen quite a bit. So anyway, these protons that are gathered up here, they want to get back to the other side. ATP synthase says, you know what, I'll let you go back. And as the protons go through the ATP synthase, it uses this transfer from the thylakoid space to the stroma to turn the head of the enzyme, which converts ADP into ATP. Okay, so this is how the ATP is being generated, by the ATP synthase providing an avenue for these protons to go back into the stroma and even up the gradient. Okay, the protons that were pumped through can then combine with the electrons that went through the electron carriers to form hydrogen atoms, and these can then join on to NADP and reduce the NADP as shown in the other slide, which is here. Okay, so that bit there of joining the protons with the NADP, joining the hydrogens with the NADP is happening here with NADP reductase. On this diagram, it is shown here. Okay, so effectively the same thing that we discussed in the other video. Reduced NADP is produced and ATP is produced, which can then go on to the next stage. Okay, so once again, thanks for listening. Hopefully it clarified how ATP is created in photosynthesis. You will do this electron transport system again, very similar in aerobic respiration, so hopefully that'll help to reinforce the idea as well. Very similar, subtle differences, but effectively a very similar process. Thank you.